Hello again. Alright, time to continue with the Kith series. This time, though, I'm not going to talk about a single Kith. I'm going to talk about the Thallain Kiths in general. Now, the Kiths I've talked about so far are way up at the front of the book. The ones that you're kind of pushed into playing a bit. The Thallain Kiths are stuffed way back at the end of chapter 9. Now, there is a reason for this. According to World of Darkness, the Thallain Kiths, the Shadow Kiths, are the darker, antagonistic versions of the Changelings. However, as I've said a number of times throughout the Kith series, I don't really play it that way. I consider the Kiths to all be reflections of each other. And as such, anyone who wants to look at this and play an Aethu rather than an Eshu, I'm fine with that. I don't have an issue with my players doing that, most notably when we are playing an unseelie game. Now, basically, the reason I'm not going to do an individual video on each and every one of these is because, for the most part, these are the same Kiths as we've already talked about. Like I said, the Aethu are the Eshu. The difference is that instead of the Eshu talents, the backgrounds and the penalty, they instead have new endowments and vulnerabilities. Basically, these are targeted towards a darker version of things. So you can see as we go through here, these are much shorter entries. Beasties, for example, are the opposite of Pukas. They still get the Puka form, shifting into an animal. So that shows you they are exactly the same creatures. They also then get Gaia's Mercy, meaning that when they do something, the mists, which is the kind of what keeps the changelings from being noticed, conceals their actions. So, kind of an interesting thing that happens there. And then their vulnerability, of course, is the hunt. Now, like I said, I'm not going to go through all of these because it's easy enough to read through them and look and see. They are very much the same as I've already talked about for the others up front. The Bogarts, the Bogies. I've actually just finished filming the Sluaw video not a few minutes ago, and I mentioned these guys quite heavily. I actually say that reading the Bogey entry is a lot more of what I would have expected the Sluaw entry to be like. Slithering things in the dark, glimpses out of the corner of the eye, distant relatives. Well, see, they're not distant relatives of the Sluaw. They are just Sluaw with darker motives. So, yeah, I'm not going to cover each of these individually. Ghasts. It does mention in each one of them, goblins are the opposite of knockers. There you go. It says it right there. So, yeah, these guys get a very bad rap. Yes, they are a darker play on things. They are slightly harder to play as heroic characters because they tend more towards manipulation and harm than anything else. But I think they make some very interesting games, and because of that, like I said, I don't dissuade my characters from playing them at all. I just wanted to touch on that here because I think with the fact that they're buried so far back in the book means that a lot of people will miss them. You're looking at page 370-ish in the 20th anniversary book to find them. And they're buried in such a way that even some of the other Kiths are then put into the next appendix in chapter 10 But these aren't there with them either. They make them quite hard to find, make them easy to miss, almost daring you to not ever find them. 371, there you go. So, yeah, read through the Thallain Kiths. Realize that, at least if you're playing with me, if you're playing in a game that the storyteller has listened to any of my stuff and is following it, these are not a separate race. I talked before about merfolk and marrow, and the fact that you're going to look at them and not know the difference. Very much like was actually mentioned in the book about trolls becoming ogres if they fall to their darker tendencies. That's the way I view all of the Thallain Kiths. They are they're a way of the Sealies especially distancing themselves from the problems of their own kind that have taken a path they don't agree with. Read the Thallain Kiths, enjoy the Thallain Kiths, play the Thallain Kiths. Some of them have some very interesting abilities. Gonna leave it there on that one for now. I will be back later on. I do have a game tonight. We are just going to be doing some creation stuff, but I will be filming it. I will be posting it, so enjoy watching that once it's up.